Hi, everyone. I'm Eddie Sanchez, and welcome to EWritesPodcast. Today, we're going to be talking about my top five favorite horror films of the 2000s. If you're into that kind of stuff, stay tuned. Okay, let's get started. So, today I'm going to be naming my top five favorite horror films of the 2000s because I'm really the type of person that doesn't like to go in order. So, I like to go out of sequence. So, I started with the 2000s because the 2000s was such a pivotal time. I think that at that time, horror films maybe stagnated. They had an issue, and I think the filmmakers were trying to do something different, psychological, horrors with supernatural, kind of mix it up, psychological, natural, like supernatural, some kind of mix of the two, right? And we had a good combination of films that came out in 2000. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is 28 Days Later, which was one of my favorite films because I don't know if you know this about me, but my nightmare would be to kind of be stuck in a world where there's nobody there, right? Anyway, so 28 days later, it just it was my worst nightmare. So when it came out, I was like, "Oh my god, this is really scary," and it hit me, right? And it was just nicely uh, done. I believe it came out in 2002. Director Danny Boyle directed it. He did a great job. I hope to direct something as good as that one day. But I feel like there was a good story. I gotta see who wrote it. I think they did a great job because the other zombies, right? So this is a zombie movie. 28 Days Later is a zombie movie starring Cillian Murphy, I believe. He's such an amazing actor, and he wakes up in a hospital in the middle of London, right? And all of a sudden, he's alone. There's nobody around. He wakes up from a coma, and there's nobody in the world, right? He's looking around. He eventually leaves the hospital, doesn't see anybody. He's like, hello, hello. And then he eventually runs into somebody, but it's something he didn't expect. He ran into zombies. But these zombies were like crazy fast, and it was just insane. I mean, he ran into people, obviously, but these zombies, um, the zombies that I'm used to were slow, right? Night of the Living Dead, or I mean, these zombies were really slow, but the zombies from 28 Days Later were so fast. I was just like, he's dead. Like this world is done because if there's anybody still living in this world, uh, they're gonna get him, right? So that's what was so scary about the movie, that you expected that, okay, when are they gonna get him? When are they gonna get him? This movie seemed like I was kind of like scared at every second. There was no time that I could relax. I think that they had like they always try to have like some kind of love thing with I think he met a nice woman, but again at the end of the day, I was always like, who's gonna die first, her or him, and I remember when like one of the characters got like, they caught him. I was just like turning away because I didn't want to see how bad it was. So 28 Days Later, I'm gonna put a link for it down below. If you haven't seen it yet, please go check it out, see the trailer, and then go rent the movie, watch it on Netflix, whatever you have to do, just watch it. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to my number two, which is gonna be The Ring. Okay, The Ring also came out in 2002. It was directed by Gore Verbinski, I believe, and this movie was it's kind of like a reinventing of American horror. I think that it was it was scary because you know it was like a scary little demon girl, and you found the tape, and if you found the tape, you watch it, and if you watched it, you died 7 days later. Can you imagine? Like back in the days, tapes were more common. Nowadays, people are like, tapes? What is he talking about? There's no tapes. So you're more likely to find a tape, or somebody can give you a tape or whatever, right? So it's something that can happen, and that's what I love about horror, that you could turn anything into a horror scene, right? Into a horror movie. You can be a man coming home to his wife and she's being eaten by zombies, or your kids are being eaten by zombies, or your kids are zombies. You could turn anything normal, right? Ordinary, into a zombie or apocalypse movie, right? All of a sudden, like, we hear the alarms and it's crazy, the world is coming to an end, and it causes chaos, right? We have to have a main character that we love, and that's just basically how horror movies work, right? We always have to have like a character that we root for, that we want them to win. Okay, so back to The Ring. So this movie was pretty interesting because, you have a tape. Once you watch the tape, you have 7 days to live. Somebody's gonna come and kill you. The little girl's gonna come and kill you. This little girl was a gangster. I've never seen a little girl that was so scary. The way she walked, the way she came out of the well. I mean, she was a bad little girl. I mean, talk about a bad child, right? I think they threw her in the well or something. But it was very good. It was very good. There was a very good story, very good acting. I think that you should definitely check that out. The Ring was amazing. Okay, guys, let's move on to my number three. Paranormal Activity. This movie came out in 2007. This movie was really scary. It's like one of those movies that found footage, right? You find footage, and you hear a story about some kind of like demon or ghost or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're being haunted. It reminds me of the Blair Witch Project, because these type of found footage movies, you don't really need to spend a lot of money, because if it's like one of those shaky camera, like I said, the Blair Witch Project is a perfect example of the film that paved the way for Paranormal Activity, because basically you think that you found the tape and it could be real, and it's loosely based on a story. Like, again, Blair Witch Project made so much money because it was made with a regular camcorder, and it just didn't cost a lot of money, and it made millions, a bunch of millions. So Paranormal Activity is the same thing. They use shaky camera footage, which is not really expensive, you know. It's relatively cheap, and that's what I love about horror. Again, you can make a movie a lot cheaper than like an action movie that you have to do all these chase and all these explosions. Horror movies, you could do them very simply. Shoot it, shake the camera up a little bit, a little special effects, not even crazy, and you can have a hit. You never know, right? You can make millions, right? So that's what I love about Paranormal Activity, is its simplicity. You know, you have good acting, because obviously you want to show the fans that these things are scary, because you have to believe that these characters are going through this a situation, versus if you have bad acting, it's not going to be believable and nobody's going to watch it. Okay, let's go into number four, and this one really changed things, because and I'll tell you which one it is in a minute. This one came out in 2004, and it's called Saw. So I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie Saw, because now it's been a long time, so you guys may have never seen the movie Saw. I'm gonna put a link to the trailer down below as well, because if you're into mind games, psychological mind games, this movie is for you. This character, the Jigsaw Killer, um, he caught people, he trapped them, and then he played games with them. And one of these movies, he had somebody cut off their own leg. I think it might have been the first one. The first movies are always the best, because you don't know what to expect. But Saw just kept, the series kept going, and they kept getting more and more creative. I think Shaq, I don't know, they have a spoof, and I think Shaq was in the spoof. These movies are really good, so they'll make spoofs out of, they'll make fun of these movies and do remakes of these movies because they're so good. But again, the original Saw was probably the best, because you didn't expect that to happen. You have a serial killer captures his victims. He plays mind games with them. He knows them. He knows their life. It's like this serial killer studied these people, and he basically, mess with them. Yeah, I don't want to curse. James Wan directed it. I think that this is probably James Wan's best movie. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. You might like the other movies that he's done. He's done quite a few, but I like the Saw series. I think it was really good. Okay, so let's move on to the final horror movie. I got to do the drum roll. Okay, so my last movie that I want to talk about is called The Descent. It came out in 2005. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it, but it was like a. I don't think it made a lot of money in the theaters. I don't even know if it went to theaters or if it went straight to DVD or to Netflix. But it was so good because you didn't expect it to be so good. All right, so you got like six friends, six girlfriends. They go into somewhere in North Carolina into uncharted like caves or something like that. They're not that people have never been to them supposedly, right? And they go exploring in these caves. Now, you say, Eddie, nobody's just gonna go into a cave to explore, right? Because they just want to. And I wouldn't do it. Maybe you wouldn't do it. But these girls, they're the bravest people in the world. And they went to the cave and somehow there was monsters in there. And these monsters were they were savage, you know. And in this situation where you're kind of well, then you get trapped, right? They got trapped. I think they went down to the cave and then they had no way to get out, so they had to find another way to get out. But I think it's just crazy that first you would go into a cave, second that this is what you do for fun. I don't know. I would just go to a cabin, drink. That's my fun. Sorry, but these girls went in there, and when you're put in a situation that is either you or me get killed, right? You know, I don't know. Who are you gonna pick, right? Are you gonna stand up for your friends? Are you gonna try to save them? I would try to save my friends, but at the end of the day, we have to preserve our lives, right? I don't know, but these women were pretty brave. They're trying to save themselves, and I thought it was really cool. But I don't know if these monsters were that scary, and they were pretty damn scary. You guys gotta watch the trailer, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll definitely thank me, and you'll definitely go watch this movie. Again, probably on Netflix. I think it is on Netflix or maybe Prime. You guys should definitely check it out. Neil Marshall directed The Descent. I think that again, good storytelling. I got scared a few times, and I was like, "Why would you do that? Why would you go into the cave?" That's the only question I kept asking myself. But hey, they wouldn't have made the movie, right? So again, if you don't like enclosed places, don't watch the movie because it'll scare the shit out of you. Because there's some tight spots, and then you have like these subdwelling, you know, kind of like monsters going after them, and it's really scary. So if you're not into that kind of stuff, don't watch it. But if you are, go check it out. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed me talking about these movies. If you're into horror films, this is what I do. This is what I talk about. I'll sometimes talk about my projects, my upcoming book, The Diary of Kate the Ripper. Stay tuned for that. If you guys have any questions, drop them down below. But I am going to ask you guys for one thing. All right. I want to hear your 5 favorite horror films from any decade. Like it could be 80s, 70s, 60s, 90s, 2000s. Doesn't matter. Um, Let me know your top 5. All right. Drop it down below, write a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next podcast. Thank you for watching, and don't forget, subscribe to my YouTube channel, my Instagram, my whatever. I'll see you next time.